types of magazines, it's kind of interesting actually. The BPA worldwide, which tracks magazine subscription numbers, came out with 2 industry standard terms for electronic publications. If we're talking about magazines, they're called digital magazines now, if we're standardizing. And for newspapers, they're now called e-editions. And both of these formats can then be further divided. This title actually should say types of publications, not just types of magazines, if we're going to be clear here. Can be further divided into specific technological solutions. So if we're talking about the 4 different types that the BPA has brought forward, the first one that we're talking about is dynamic publications. And what those are is they're publications where either the reader or the publisher can choose the content that's available to them in that edition or e-magazine or digital magazine. And it may be different each time that the reader accesses it, or it may be different for each user. So you can use a variety of different criteria to narrow down the content for different users and different segments. Then if we look at targeted magazines or targeted publications, those typically are done with very specific profiles. So if you're looking for one target audience, they may get a subsection of the content in your magazine delivered in a different package than another user who has a different demographic value. Then the third type is enhanced, and that's taking the content that's currently available in your magazine and adding some additional content. So this could mean photos, it could mean additional articles with related elements to the pieces in your magazine or your publication, or it could mean adding video. It's taking that piece of your magazine and expanding upon it online. And the most common one that's available online today is what they call a replica. So that's creating a digital version of your magazine that follows the same content structure as well as the same design structure as the original publication, and just making that available online. And what's really interesting is the BPA worldwide, when they came out with these standards, they also agreed to expand the definition of subscription-based to include any digital titles. So if you make available a magazine in print and also make it available on your website, if you have different subscribers or different people accessing those magazines, those count to your subscription numbers, which is really important for magazine publishers, especially when you're talking about advertising. Now, one of the challenges that we often get back from people that are talking to us about e-publishing is there are really sort of 4 major pushbacks and 4, I guess, what I would call perceived barriers to entry. The first one is publishers often say to us, no, but it's too expensive for us to get into this. Certainly that has been an argument in the past, because many of the solutions that we talked about in the family that were conversion services, if we're talking about a large per issue cost to hand over your magazine and have it converted, yes, I could see how that might be considered a high cost. But the solutions that are in the marketplace today in that software as a service market are generally very low cost and very low barrier to entry from a technology perspective. They don't require you to have a significant knowledge, and they're not required to complicate your life as a publisher, so you can often follow the same processes and procedures that you would today and very inexpensively get those titles online. I mean, we're talking in the ballpark of under $20 a month type of thing for some of those solutions, which is, it's definitely not a huge concern from a publishing perspective. Certainly the ones that do a conversion, you could be looking at $500 to $1,000 an issue, but that's one process. If you're talking about barriers to entry, one of the other ones that's often brought up is, well, I really don't have any proof that this is going to deliver results for me. Well, really the number one thing I would say is it's going to be dependent on your audience. It's going to be dependent on your publication, acceptance level of your readers. But if you're talking about not having to change your process and not having to invest significantly in technology, it's really, in my perspective, a no-brainer to try it and see what those results are for your specific audience. And audience acceptance concerns, really the same argument holds true. So far, anyone that we've talked to that has moved forth with an e-publishing solution, the feedback from the audience has only been positive. They've certainly appreciated the extra access. They've appreciated the ability to interact with the content on a more robust level, to be able to flip pages electronically, to search through and find keywords within a magazine or a journal or publication. So definitely I would say that audience acceptance concerns, the pros outweigh the cons. When you're talking about evaluating solutions, when we talked about the 4 different types of ways to get your content online, that's going to play into what the best solution is for you. If you have a huge inventory of publications and stacks and stacks of archives of your publications today, then looking at some form of conversion service is going to be potentially costly for you. Now, the good news is from content scanning and OCR and bringing print content online, those prices have gone down significantly in the last several years. And there are solutions available to handle bulk conversion of print titles. I know we work with several different partners here that offer fairly attractive pricing for doing that. So it's not necessarily a huge barrier to entry. But when you're evaluating your solutions, you certainly have to look at what your volume is to consider that. Your desired level of involvement and available resources. So if you are looking at a quick and effective way to get your content online, and you don't want to have somebody managing say like relationships with vendors from that perspective, and you don't want to have dedicated resources for producing digital titles, look for a software as a service provider that has that history. And that way you also don't have to worry about, is my server able to handle the volume? Is my IT department going to be involved, and are they available to me? Those types of things. So those are the questions you want to evaluate when you're looking at how to bring those solutions online. And also the volume and type of interactive content. If you are an organization that you publish print magazines, but you also have a significant amount of video, audio, and interactive content, you want to look at how you can combine those to make them available to your audience online. So that's one element that you'll want to consider as well. If you're looking at your key features for ePublishing solutions, the ones that you'll want to make sure of for your audience are, is it really easy to use? Certainly a lot of people get enticed by the bells and whistles of lots of features for bringing their e-magazines online and having a reader that has tons of different features. Is it really important for your audience? That's one thing I would ask you. Sometimes simpler is better. Going with something that has the core functionality and handles it really well may outweigh having all the bells and whistles. It's really dependent on your audience and the type of publication you're making. You want to make sure that they provide quick, your provider or your solution has quick and reliable access. That's a #1 complaint for people that are reading digital editions, is slow load times and unreliability in terms of accessing. They want to read that magazine when they want to read it. They don't care when that is, and they don't have patience a lot of the time for server errors and those types of things. They just want it available, quick, and easy. Does it provide clear and accurate rendering? A lot of the solutions that do a conversion, that conversion doesn't necessarily deliver the clearest results. And if you're reading on a screen, depending on the resolution of your screen and the size of your screen, etc., you may want to make sure that the clarity of the text remains, so it's not difficult for you. And you'll want to make sure that your technology supports industry standard technologies, plugins, components, if there are any necessary. And that means that you don't want to go with a solution that has a proprietary plugin so that when the user loads the page, they go, oh, I have to install this plugin from XYZ vendor. There's usually questions of trust, questions of access, whether the user has permission to actually install software on that system. So look for industry standard technology that's available widely. And look for also, one of the elements that's really important is support for statistics and metrics to be able to evaluate the usage of the solution. If they don't collect those statistics and metrics and share them with you as a publisher, then it's going to be very difficult for you to really understand who's using your solution, how many times it's being accessed. So we're getting into some specific information about our ePublishing family of solutions, and Jason's going to take over and share this with you.
Good morning. I'd like to briefly introduce you to our products. The Reach ePublishing family is a set of products that are designed specifically to allow you or anyone else to quickly and safely publish your documents and content to online readers.
Let me advance that.
The first product is ReachDocs. ReachDocs is a perfect solution that allows you to distribute your digital edition. Normally it's oriented around people who have one or more documents that they'd like to distribute to their readers with individual readership. So if you've got a document that you want them to look at that doesn't have a direct correlation to the previous document, it's perfectly well suited. The viewer allows you to read your documents in any standard browser without requiring third-party plugins and software, and is designed for widest reach so that everybody is able to quickly get up and running regardless of their system hardware, their what they've got installed, what browser they're using, and so forth. Under normal circumstances, I would traditionally demo a product to you live, but due to the limitations of screen sharing technology, you won't be able to see many of the refinements that go into the product and a lot of the things that your readers will see. This is due to the low frame rate that the screen capture software will capture my screen at and present it to you. If you'd like to view ReachDocs, just simply click the Launch ReachDocs demo on your screen, and it should open the application to you in a new window. Now, if you're looking at ReachDocs, this is basically what you're going to be seeing. ReachDocs is the interface that your readers will interact with to read and print your documents. It has been designed to allow you to quickly and easily navigate through the documents regardless of your computer experience. When you look at the people who are online today, you get a wide variety of users. Very often the demographics for readers range anywhere between the ages of 35 upwards of 60, which brings in a large variety of ways that users navigate. If you've got an older individual, they may be more relying on the buttons available at the top of the screen to simply click previous and next page. Whereas if you've got somebody who's a little bit more experienced, they'll use scroll bars that are available at the bottom to quickly fly through a series of pages to get to the content they want. And lastly, you will interact using key commands. So somebody who'll sit there will read. To avoid having to take their hands off the keyboard or mouse, they'll just hit their next and previous arrows on their screen to flip pages and move through the documents quickly. In addition to just simply navigating the pages, there's multiple renderings of your document. You've got several different levels of view and orientation so that you can view your document as two-page view so that you get the real feeling of being introduced to a book where you can physically grab the bottom of the page and turn it, or just simply click that bottom corner, it'll turn for you again. In this view, it gives you a really good overview. It gives you a nice visual aspect of what the printed document looks like, but it's a little bit more harder or a little bit more difficult to read given the limited screen real estate we have these days. If you click anywhere within the document, it will automatically view into the area and display your content to you so that you can read the text, and you've got another level that you can dive into it deeper to get into the really smaller details of the document.